During our travels, I was knocked out by some Cantonese cuisine. I guess I should have expected it though. Where was I? Hong Kong. I'm Thomas Robson. Welcome to Entree to Asia. Cantonese cuisine is undoubtedly one of the great classic cuisines of the world. It's had such a strong influence on the other cultures of Asia and especially Southeast Asia. Because of this, we thought it would be wise to do a little bit of research in Hong Kong, home to many of the world's greatest Cantonese chefs. Perhaps what makes Cantonese cuisine so popular is the fact that it is still evolving, resisting the urgings of the so-called classic chefs to define itself once and for all. But regardless, there are still principles to be followed, techniques of preparation, if you will. Chef Ip Ji Chung of the Shang Palace restaurant at the Shangri-La Kowloon Hotel is a sifu, or master of these Cantonese techniques. Even a short stay in this city will make you realize Hong Kong is a hotbed of competition when it comes to good restaurants. But the Shang Palace is regarded as one of the best places to appreciate Cantonese cuisine. And that's due in no small part to the vibrancy and evolution Chef Ip brings to this wonderful food. The Director of Communication for the hotel, Patsy, is here, and she's going to help us communicate with the Chef Ip, who is a master of Cantonese cuisine. Now all of this is going to come together, the squid, the abalone, the chicken liver, everything, and we're going to stuff sea whelks.
Yes, that is the main meat for the sea whelks. Now, Chef Ip is blanching the very finely chopped squid, chicken liver, and very finely chopped abalone.
Beautiful. A sea whelk is kind of a spiral shell.
It is. Yes.
And it has kind of like almost like a snail inside.
Yes, take the meat out and stuff in the meat. Stuff in the very exquisite meat like abalone. Now Chef is going to saute the finely chopped onion until cooked.
Take away the raw taste of the onion, so when it bakes inside, it'll be sweet.
Yes.
What a great aroma.
Yes.
Even in the whole kitchen, I can still smell it. Yeah.
Right. And now he's putting aside the onion. Okay, now he's going to also saute the pork. But you can see the minced pork, he marinates it with the egg yolk.
Okay, so mix a little bit of minced pork with some egg yolk to help bind it.
Correct.
Now here, some oil is definitely necessary to keep the pork from sticking. Now I guess, if you order this dish, would this all be done last minute like this, every time?
Everything is cooked to order.
Wow.
Yeah. Now he's going to season all the ingredients.
Just a bit of oil to moisten the pan to
Just a
let the
little.
cooking happen.
Yeah.
Now that was garlic and shallot, right?
That is, yes, garlic and shallot. Also very finely chopped.
Back with the onions.
師傅，你落啲咩落去調味啊？Salt. Now he's going to season all the ingredients with salt. Chicken powder.
So I see a little sugar, a little salt going in there.
Now he's stirring fry all the ingredients.
Now here it's clear to see how things are getting dried out. And to my mind as a cook, that means that excess water is being boiled away and flavor is being concentrated.
Correct. Now he's going to touch up with the sauce, with the mild curry sauce. And the ingredients for the mild curry sauce is... Right. It is like a roux, a blend of butter and flour. And this is the curry paste. And Chef, you just added that it's very important not to make a very thick sauce, because otherwise the sauce is very sticky,
So even though he's going to use a roux, he's going to use just a little bit. And what I love here is the roux is such a Western ingredient.
It is, yes, it is. the consistency is also very important, not to make it so thick.
Now, roux is just a combination of butter and flour in almost equal quantities that is cooked carefully to remove the raw flavor of the flour. And then it's used to thicken sauces, and here it goes right in. He's using the superior stock to make this, right?
Correct, yes.
How would you describe superior stock?
Superior stock, usually they use Yunnan ham, chicken, pork.
It's a combination of many subtle
Very
flavored
flavorful,
ingredients.
yes.
So now here comes a little bit of coconut milk. And what's
And
really interesting is a bit of evaporated milk.
Yes.
I can already get an idea of the flavors that are
It
coming
gives the dish
together.
a flavor, yeah, very mild flavor. They're very smooth.
So now he's making a bit more of the sauce. He made some to bind together the ingredients,
Yes, correct.
and now there'll be some more to go over on top later.
But if you make
So
it
now
too,
the meat is, everything's gone in together with it,
correct,
and there's the filling
Right.
ready to go. Beautiful.
isn't it? So you see the color, not to make it too brown.
No. And you can smell from the aroma. This is not like, well, this is not made obviously with a curry powder preparation like we have at home. So now the filling is ready. And
Right.
it's a matter of filling the whelk shell, getting it ready for baking.
Right. But you don't really get the whelk instead, but you get the abalone.
I see, I
pork.
see. So the shell really lends to the preparation. It's not necessarily the whelk meat.
No.
I mean, why not use abalone? It's so much better.
It's just egg and water. It's
Right.
a blend of egg and water.
Aha, but here's the trick. Instead of dipping it, you'll pour it.
Right, it's just to bond the things together.
Nice. Very nice.
Just sprinkle some breadcrumbs onto it.
And of course, what's important with the breading is it keeps the...
Right, you've got to do 2 layers of breadcrumbs. The reason why he puts 2 layers of breadcrumbs is in order to give it very nice color. So if you just do 1 layer, the color will not be as good as 2 layers.
Aha. So 2 layers will not only protect, but it gives it more
Also
browning
more
ability.
browning. Yes, correct.
Perfect. Really, from the point where you've got the filling made, it's quite simple.
Yeah, it is. You can actually do this dish at home.
Yeah?
So you can make it, yeah, very easily.
Right on.
Okay, now he's going to put it into the oven.
So now the whelks have come out of the oven. They bake for about 15 minutes.
10 to 15.
They've taken a lovely golden color. And as you say, you're going to present them now on a napkin folded like a lotus flower.
Correct, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so now the moment of truth. Take a small, delicate spoon, and you can use the edges of the napkin here, the petals of the lotus flower, as it were, to hold the whelk shell steady. Oh, it's tender and delicate. I almost thought it would be kind of hard. Silly me. Wow, look at that. Well, I'll hold my little dish in case I drop it. I don't want to lose any.
No. It smells very good,
Beautiful,
isn't it?
it's delicate.
Yeah.
You really smell the seafood, and the curry aroma is not at all overpowering. It's
No,
very
not
delicate.
at all. Is it good?
Is it good? Maybe one more taste, I'm not sure, eh? Excellent food. Almost sick. Well, of course, now you don't always have to be using different kinds of seashells when you're making this kind of force meat filled dish. What I really like to use as a container often are peppers. And here I have some lovely different colored peppers, some orange, some red, and here's a beauty. It's a black pepper. All you need to do to get these ready is simply cut them vertically into equal halves. Have a look at how beautiful this is. Inside the flesh is green, outside it's black. It's quite beautiful. And then to prepare them, just simply cut across just below the stem. You want to leave the stem intact. It looks beautiful. And then cut crosswise, just like here. I stick the knife in crosswise to trim away the ribs that hold this all in place. And then simply loosen it, carefully trimming. Remove any extra seeds, and you can tidy it up a little bit or a lot, however you feel about it. There we go. So there's one more ready to go. Now, as for the filling's pretty straightforward. What I have today is very traditionally Cantonese. It's some ground pork. But if you want to get away from tradition, you want to think more about health, then please consider ground chicken and ground turkey. In both cases, you'll want to use a fairly coarse grind, a medium coarse grind, and it'll be lower in fat than the pork is, and I've tried it. It's amazingly delicious, so it's a real treat. The kinds of flavorings that will go into this now, well, you want those to be very traditionally Cantonese, so we're going to start off with some chopped ginger, just finely minced. The finer you mince it, the more subtle the flavor will be, but I like something a little bit more robust, so I chop it a little bit more coarsely so that you actually get some nice contrasts with these chunks of garlic. That's the next ingredient, a little bit of garlic. Some very aromatic chili flakes here, and these chili flakes, well, they just have an amazing flavor. You can use any kind of chili flake or chili powder at this point. You can use fresh chopped chilies, but if you get a chance to visit a Korean grocery store, well, then I recommend that you go out there and look for these beautiful bright red chili flakes for making kimchi. They just have an unbeatable flavor. Coarse black pepper then is the next ingredient. A couple of tablespoons of regular ordinary soy sauce. And here's a little trick. I would recommend that instead of going for a soy sauce with a Japanese trade name, look for one from Taiwan, Hong Kong, or China. Another Cantonese ingredient that's very important, sesame oil. And a good solid 2 tablespoons of sesame oil will give this dish the flavor that you want. We'll add in some coarsely chopped green onion, color, and the wonderful aroma that it gives. And I'm going to start mixing this up a little bit. Mix carefully so it doesn't splash around. And if you're comfortable with mixing with your hands, well then by all means wash them up and get in there with your hands. It's believed, and I think it's very well justified in the Cantonese kitchen, that when you mix force meats or ground meats like this with other ingredients with your hands, you incorporate more air and the mixture becomes lighter and more succulent, and there's a real truth behind that. I like working just as well with a spoon or a spatula like this, and it's a very clean way, and if you're working in the kitchen you expect a phone call or something, well, then it makes a heck of a lot of sense. Let's bind it all together with 1 egg. And we'll mix that in. Now, you mix this all up, and you don't have time or something gets in the way, or say you want to plan ahead and be efficient for a party that's coming up or a special dinner, then by all means put this away in the fridge. It'll keep for 2 days, no problem at all. And if you put it in a little freezer container and pop it into your freezer, well then you can put it away for 9 months. Sometimes I make a big batch of this, put several containers away, bring one out, and I can make lovely stuffed peppers in a moment's notice, virtually. Defrost with the microwave for speedy effect. Once it starts getting smooth, whip it a bit with whatever tool you're using or your hand. This is the point where you incorporate the air and lighten the mixture. Okay. So let's take a pepper and a spoonful of the filling. Not too much at first. Try and tamp it down up into the top end of the pepper to fill that gap just below the stem end. Do a few, you'll find out that this works out very beautifully. And as an entree, 2 of these really is more than adequate. You don't have to do a very fancy job at this point. The cooking will really help settle out all the ingredients. So get them ready one at a time. Thinking of doing ahead again? Well, if you want to stuff these in the morning, wrap the plate carefully with plastic wrap, put it in your fridge. You could leave it until late that evening with no problems. And in fact, if you left it until the next day, say you wanted to barbecue it on a Sunday afternoon and you prepped it on the Friday or the Saturday night rather, well, that would be perfectly safe. Just remember, it must stay refrigerated. And Here we go. I'll just do up 3 of these and we'll get them into the pan, which I have preheating just to my right here. We've got 3, that's perfect. All right, let's turn up the fire a little bit. We'll come over here by the stove, and a splash of oil. Any oil will suit. Canola oil, corn oil is very popular in Asia right now, but I'm a stickler for tradition. I'm enjoying peanut oil. Now, of course, a lot of people have problems with peanuts, allergies and so on. So keep in mind your health concerns, your friends' concerns about their health, and use the oil that best suits your purposes. When you cook a dish like this, you might find that it spatters, and I have the ideal solution for that right down here in my drawer. Spatter screen. These are cheap. You'll find these in drugstores and grocery stores. You don't need to spend a lot of money on them. And a spatter screen like this, although it hides the beauty of what's going on, will keep your dishes, your counter, and yourself free and clean from spatters. Adjust the heat, and don't turn the heat up. Adjust the heat down. There we go. These will take an easy 15 minutes to cook all the way through.
Day 26. There are many things that come to mind when I think of my time spent here in Southeast Asia. Food is obviously one of them, but another is water. Bangkok has its canals, Penang its coastal resorts, Singapore its sandy island beaches, and even here in Hong Kong, water continues to play a major part in its life and its evolution. The Kowloon side, the older side, full of tourism and shops and little restaurants serving all manner of wonderful treats, contrasted with the more modern high-rise Hong Kong. In just about any other city in the world, you'd find old and new mixed together, but rarely do you find it here. For me, the best way to see Hong Kong is from the water, on board one of the many water taxis or ferries, because I know, either coming or going, I'm only minutes away from a new adventure.
Okay, so the peppers over here are just about done. And while they're finishing cooking, I'd like to just share with you a little bit about this young ginger that I have here. This is quite different from regular ginger root. Look how pale the skin is and actually how thin it is. This ginger doesn't need to be peeled, and its aroma is very sweet, and it's just ever so much more appealing compared to the regular older ginger. If you ever see this on the shelves, please buy it. You can always recognize it by this beautiful sort of the red or pink tops here. This is how the ginger grows, and this is the stem of the ginger flower and the ginger leaves that keep the root alive while it's growing in the ground. It's just fantastic. Our peppers are indeed finished. And let's see if we can arrange them here. If you're in a hurry when you're cooking, you know, don't hesitate to get these fried, put them on a pan, and put them into a 350-degree oven to finish their cooking. They'll cook right through in a frying pan, no problem. However, what you might want to do is finish them in the oven. They'll cook very nicely and evenly, and they'll save you some stove space when you're cooking on the stove. Maybe you want to do a stir-fry dish after that. And in fact, that's what I'm thinking of doing right now. But let's just finish this up first. So arrange these nicely. Take a little bit of toasted sesame seed and throw it on top, just for a bit of contrast. Make that look pretty. And here we have some marvelous stuffed peppers. Okay, so I've added a little bit of garnish on the side of the peppers to make them look beautiful, because what I'm thinking is we should make more of a meal out of this presentation. And to do that, we're going to make a nice, simple fried rice dish. To start off, I have some shrimp here that have just been cut in half lengthwise. That'll make them cook very quickly. Some Chinese wine I'm going to use to give them a bit of extra flavor. And when it comes to that, if you can't find a Chinese wine for cooking, you can use a little bit of dry sherry, or even a little splash of light whiskey will do the job. And I'm just going to put in a scant teaspoonful of that. Along with that, a little bit of cornstarch. Now what the cornstarch will do for the shrimp is it'll give them a lovely glaze, and it'll help them cook beautifully. And it'll help them keep their flavor as well, so that the shrimp juices won't end up running throughout the dish. They'll stay with the shrimp. And as far as any preparation ahead of time, that about covers it, with perhaps the exception that you can use whatever leftover kitchen meats you might have. Now, today I've got some barbecue pork. You go to the Chinese deli and you get some cut up, no problem. If you have some leftover cooked chicken, some leftover cooked pork or roast of beef, well, let's use that up too. Here's a great way to be economical in the kitchen. I'm going to heat up my wok now, and it gets hot pretty quick, so I'm going to put a splash of oil in the pan and just adjust the heat carefully here. Swirl the pan around a bit. In go the shrimp. I'm just going to break them up a bit, move them around, get them cooking individually. Oh, that's beautiful. They're about half done, and now is the time to add the barbecue pork. And while the pork is warming through, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of sugar and a quarter of a teaspoon of white pepper. Sugar and white pepper are very typical seasonings in Cantonese cookery. We'll lower the heat a bit and splash in some wine. A little bit of the Cantonese wine. The smaller amount you use, really, the better. It's got a very subtle aroma and taste. Now we're ready for the rice. And I'm just going to mix it in gently. I can really smell that Chinese wine now, because what happens, even though its flavor is subtle, its aroma really is pervasive, and it gives a perfume to the food. That's one of the big secrets of Cantonese cookery. Some green onion at this point. Notice how I didn't fry it beforehand. The green onion will lend its perfume to the dish in the next step, which is splashing in a little bit of light stock. I'm using some chicken stock here. You could use any light stock that's around, or even just a splash of water. What it does, notice how I didn't stir it in right away? If you stir it in right away, you make a mess. Things get mushy. If you let it sort of sit around a bit, it boils at the bottom, its perfume goes up through the dish, and it gives a beautiful shine to everything. So again, one more time. A little splash of chicken stock. I've used about a quarter cup at this point. And that's all the dish really needs. Last step here before we get it out of the pan and start garnishing is to add 2 beaten eggs. And we're going to carefully stir those in. Sort of with a folding motion. And not moving it around too much. Again, we want that to cook through without making the rice dish mushy. Let's add a few coriander leaves just to give a little bit of flavor and perfume. Again, the real trick with fried rice is about making it as aromatic as possible. So by working with wonderful ingredients like the Chinese wine, green onions, shrimp, coriander, well, you make a lovely aromatic fried rice dish. Okay, let's make a great mess. That looks beautiful. I have a serving dish for this. Let's scoop this out. This is actually Young Chow fried rice, and that's what it's known for, Young Chow style. If you go to a Cantonese restaurant, you're going to see that name. This Young Chow style rice is famous in Cantonese restaurants for its aroma, its appearance, and it's always recognized by the fact that it's made with barbecue pork and shrimp. But remember, you can substitute any other ingredients that you have at home. Now together, these will make a delicious meal, a nice lunch. There we go. Yeah, I really learned a great deal watching the chefs in action at the Kowloon Shangri-La Hotel, and I hope that today we managed to share some of that with you. There's lots more to come next time. I'm Thomas Robson, and this was Entree to Asia.
To find out more about Entree to Asia, including recipes and program descriptions, visit our website at www.entreetoasia.com.